You've got to understand something. There's power in knowing how to play your cards right, how to leave an impression that doesn't fade, how to leave a missing you every time you walk away. They say it's not what you do, it's how you do it. But I'm here to tell you it's not even how you do it, it's the timing of when you do it. Listen to me carefully because this is important. In life, you don't just go through the motions, you don't just give yourself away, you don't hand over your heart, your time, your attention without understanding the weight of what you're doing. See, there's a power in knowing when to pull back, knowing when to hold your ground, knowing when to take a step back. The truth is, the one thing that makes you unforgettable, the one thing that makes them miss you the most, is your ability to make them wonder, to make them feel that something was lost, that something is missing. This isn't about playing games, it's about knowing your worth, understanding that your presence is powerful, and learning how to leave them wanting more. It's that balance, my friend. That dance of knowing when to pull in and when to step back. It's not about playing hard to get, it's about showing them that you are somebody worth waiting for, worth chasing, worth coming back to. Because when you know your value, when you stand tall in who you are, people notice, and when they notice, they're going to miss you when you're gone. So don't ever think for 1 second that you have to be everything to everyone. No, you're not here to fulfill every expectation. You're here to make an impact, to leave a mark. And when you walk away, they should feel it. They should feel that vacuum of your absence. That's how you know you've done it right. The move that leaves them missing you isn't a trick, it's a choice to respect yourself enough to leave, to walk away with grace and dignity. And when you do it right, they'll miss you every time. There's an old saying that goes, timing is everything. It's simple, but it couldn't be more true. Timing is the difference between success and failure, between winning and losing, between making someone fall deeper for you or watching them slip away. But what does timing really mean? It's not just about knowing when to speak or when to act. It's understanding the rhythm of life, the moments that matter, the moments that create connection, and the moments that need distance to grow. Think about it. We've all had that one conversation where we said just the right thing at just the right moment, and it changed everything. Or maybe we've had the opposite happen, where we spoke too soon or we didn't speak at all, and the opportunity passed. That's timing. It's that split-second choice, that moment when you decide whether to take a step forward or take a step back. Sometimes waiting for the right time speaks louder than rushing in without thought. Now, let me tell you, this isn't just about waiting. It's about knowing when to make your move, when to speak, when to listen, when to hold back. The best players, the best leaders, the best partners, they don't act out of desperation. They know how to wait for the right moment. They know when to stand firm, when to take a risk, and when to pull back. What many people don't understand is that timing isn't just about you. It's also about reading the room, understanding the other person, and feeling what they need from you. You're not just responding to life, you're anticipating it. You're paying attention to the flow of things, and you're reacting in a way that makes an impact. It's like a dance. Sometimes you move in close, and sometimes you take a step back to give space. Sometimes run low, and there's no sense of whim. Both actions are intentional, both are powerful. When you understand the power of timing, you stop forcing things. You stop chasing what's not meant for you. Instead, you move with purpose, knowing that when the time is right, things will align. And that's when the magic happens. When your presence is felt, when you make the impact you are meant to make. But sometimes the right moment is just around the corner, and you need to trust that things will unfold as they should. Timing gives you the confidence to wait for the right moment to act, and it gives you the wisdom to know when to step back and let things breathe. It's a skill, a craft, and when you master it, you won't just have people chasing you, wondering what happened to you, waiting for you to come back. You'll have people feeling your absence in a way that keeps them thinking about you long after you've walked away. Timing isn't just an action, it's a mindset that controls the rhythm of your life. When you get it right, everything else follows. When you know your worth, when you truly understand the power that comes from standing firm, holding your ground isn't just a choice. It becomes a reflection of who you are. It's about not giving in to every whim or desire, not rushing to please others, or constantly adjusting yourself to meet expectations. No, holding your ground is about saying, I'm here and this is who I am. Take it or leave it. And there's strength in that. So many people go through life trying to fit into the mold that others create for them, constantly bending and adjusting to make everyone around them happy. But what happens when you lose yourself in that? What happens when you give up the very essence of who you are just to keep someone else comfortable? You're not being true to yourself. And worse, you're not giving the people around you the chance to truly see you. Holding your ground is about having the courage to set boundaries. It's knowing what you're willing to accept and what you're not. It's having the self-respect to say no when you need to, even when you know it might be uncomfortable. Because when you hold your ground, people start to realize something. They start to see that you're not easily swayed, that your time and energy are valuable, and that if they want to be in your life, they have to meet you where you stand. It's a lesson in self-discipline, too. You can't just hold your ground and expect things to fall into place. No, you have to be willing to keep your position, even when temptation tries to pull you away, even when someone comes to you with promises of things that sound too good to pass up. You have to be able to look at what you've built and say, this is enough for me. I'm not chasing after anything else. And when you hold your ground, you start to radiate confidence. People begin to see you not as someone who can be manipulated or convinced into doing something they don't believe in, but as someone who has control over their life, who is comfortable with their choices, and who isn't afraid to stand tall in their own truth. And let me tell you, there's power in that. People may not always like it. They may test you. They may try to break you down. But when you know who you are, when you're firm in your stance, nothing can shake you. This isn't about being stubborn for the sake of being stubborn. It's about having the wisdom to know that the right people will respect you for your consistency, your integrity, and your sense of self. When you hold your ground, you're not just telling others that you won't be pushed around. You're also telling yourself that you deserve respect, that you deserve to be treated the way you treat others. And that's how you build relationships that are built on mutual respect, on understanding, on trust. So, hold your ground. Stand firm in your beliefs, in your values, in your boundaries. Don't let anyone talk you into being less than you are, because when you do, you send a message that resonates far beyond the surface. People will know that your presence is not something they can take for granted, that your time is precious, and that when you choose to give it, they are getting the very best version of you. Leaving an impression isn't just about making a quick splash, having a flashy moment, or doing something dramatic to get attention. No, it's about presence. It's about creating a mark that lingers long after you've walked away. When you truly master the art of leaving an impression, you don't need to scream for attention because your impact is felt in the quiet moments, in the subtle ways you carry yourself, in the way people remember you even when you're not around. See, the most lasting impressions aren't always the loudest. They're the ones that quietly resonate with people. The ones where your words, your actions, your energy leave a trail that others follow. It's about being genuine, about showing up as your authentic self without trying to force something that isn't there. The world is full of noise, full of people who try to be seen by shouting or demanding attention. But the ones who truly make an impact are those who don't need to shout at all. They speak with their actions, with the way they hold themselves, with the way they make others feel. What you have to understand is that leaving an impression isn't just about what you do. It's about how you make others feel when you do it. People will forget the exact words you say. They'll forget the small details, but they'll remember the way you made them feel. Did you make them feel heard? Did you make them feel seen? Did you make them feel important? Those are the moments that stick, That's the kind of impression that stays with someone, that stays with you. When you leave an impression, it doesn't always have to be grand or monumental. Sometimes it's a simple gesture, a kind word at just the right moment, a deep, genuine conversation that shows you care, that shows you're present, that you're fully there, invested in that person in that moment. Those small, seemingly insignificant things, those are the things that will have someone thinking about you long after you've left. And here's the thing, the true art of leaving an impression isn't about seeking validation. It's not about trying to leave a mark so that you can be remembered. It's about creating an experience for others, about offering them something meaningful. You're not performing for approval, you're offering your best self to the world, letting others see you for who you really are. When you leave a genuine impression, it's because you've touched something real within them, something that resonates beyond the surface. It's also about knowing when to walk away. The best impressions aren't always the most persistent ones. Sometimes the most lasting impression is made by knowing when to step back, when to give people space to reflect on what you've shared, when to allow them time to process the impact you've had. It's in the way you leave the room, quietly, with dignity, leaving a sense of mystery, a feeling that something important just happened. Even if it's not fully understood in the moment, the beauty of leaving an impression is that it's not something you have to force. It's not something that can be manufactured. It's natural. It flows from being present, from living fully, from being engaged with life and with the people around you in a way that's honest and real. And when you show up like that, authentically, with purpose, with care, that's when you leave your mark. That's when you make a difference. You don't need to be remembered for what you said or for what you did. You need to be remembered for how you made them feel, for how you made them believe that there's something worth paying attention to in this world. When you leave, the impression you've made is still there, a quiet echo that stays long after you've gone. Knowing your worth is one of the most empowering realizations you can have. It's not just about what others see in you or how the world defines your value. It's about understanding who you are, recognizing the unique qualities you bring to the table, and knowing deep down that you have something special to offer. When you know your worth, you stop measuring yourself by other people's standards. You stop chasing after validation or trying to prove yourself to anyone. You simply are. And that confidence, it radiates. Too often, we get caught up in trying to fit into someone else's vision of success, or in comparing ourselves to others. We look at what others have achieved, what they've gained, or how they're perceived, and we start doubting ourselves. We question our abilities, our value, and our place in this world. But let me tell you, the moment you stop looking around and start looking inward is the moment everything changes. When you know your worth, you're no longer swayed by external opinions or fleeting trends. You stand firm in your own truth. Understanding your worth means recognizing that you are enough, just as you are. It means acknowledging your strengths, yes, but also accepting your flaws without shame. Your value isn't diminished by your imperfections. It's in the way you carry yourself, in the way you choose to rise above challenges, in the way you keep moving forward, even when things get tough. Knowing your worth means that no one can take that from you. Not a failure, not a rejection, not a harsh word. You know who you are, and that knowledge gives you the strength to keep going. When you truly understand your worth, you stop settling. You stop accepting less than you deserve, whether it's in your relationships, your career, or your personal life. You learn to say no to situations, people, and circumstances that don't align with your value. You realize that your time, your energy, and your love are too valuable to waste on things or people who don't respect it. And the more you protect your worth, the more you'll attract the right people, the right opportunities, and the right situations. People can sense when you know your worth. They recognize it in the way you carry yourself, in the way you speak, in the way you set boundaries. Knowing your worth doesn't mean you're arrogant. It means you're self-assured. It means you've put in the work to understand who you are at your core, and you trust that you have something valuable to contribute. It means you're not afraid to stand alone when necessary because you know that being true to yourself is more important than being accepted by everyone. You also know that there's always room for growth, and knowing your worth means recognizing that you are a work in progress, constantly evolving, constantly learning, and constantly becoming a better version of yourself. And when you know your worth, you stop chasing after approval. You stop asking for permission to take up space. You stop waiting for someone else to tell you that you're worthy of success, love, and respect. You start giving it to yourself. You stop seeking external validation because you realize that the only validation you need is your own. And with that validation comes freedom. Freedom to make choices based on what's best for you, not based on what others expect of you. Freedom to live authentically, without fear of judgment or rejection, because once you truly know your worth, nothing outside of you can shake that foundation. You stand tall in the belief that you are valuable, you are enough, and you have everything you need within you to create the life you want. You are not defined by the opinions of others or the setbacks you face. You define yourself, and you do so with a deep, unwavering knowledge of your own value. That knowledge is the foundation for everything that comes next. There's an art to knowing when to lean in and when to pull back. It's a delicate dance that requires awareness of not only yourself, but the other person, the situation, and the moment. The balance of connection and distance isn't something that can be forced. It's a natural rhythm that takes time to learn, and when you get it right, it can leave a lasting impact. Too much closeness can suffocate. When you're constantly around, when you're always available, people start to take you for granted. They start to expect your presence, your time, your energy, without truly appreciating it. You become a given, not a gift. And that's not what you want. You want to be remembered. You want to be valued. So sometimes stepping back is necessary. When you create space, you give the other person room to miss you, to realize your worth, and to see just how much your presence matters. It's a subtle reminder that not everything is guaranteed. People appreciate what they might lose, not what they're always sure to have. But on the flip side, too much distance can create a sense of detachment, of coldness, of disconnect. When you pull away too often or too soon, you leave others wondering where you stand, questioning your intentions or your feelings. Distance in relationships should never feel like a wall. It should feel like breathing room, a moment for both parties to reflect, grow, and come back together with even more clarity. If you pull back without giving context or without ensuring the other person feels secure in the relationship, you risk losing connection altogether. Finding the right balance means knowing when to give and when to hold back. It means being present when it counts, showing up when the moment is right, but also knowing when to step away to maintain your own peace and integrity. In relationships, whether personal or professional, it's important to be there for others, to give of yourself and your time, but not to the point where it feels like you're losing yourself in the process. You must maintain your own identity, your own sense of self, while still being open to others. In personal connections, sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is to give them space, to allow them the room to grow on their own, to work through their own challenge. It shows that you respect them enough to trust them with their own journey. It allows for a deeper, more meaningful connection when you return because both people have had time to reflect, to appreciate what the other brings to the table. But there are also moments when you need to show up, to lean in with vulnerability, to share your thoughts, your time, your presence. It's not about being distant for the sake of it. It's about knowing when your attention, your energy, and your love are most needed. It's about striking a balance between giving and taking, showing up and stepping back, all while maintaining your own boundaries. And when you get this balance right, you create a dynamic that feels fulfilling, authentic, and meaningful. One of the most powerful things you can do is learn how to pull away at the right moments. When you step back, you allow others to come forward, to show what they're willing to invest in the relationship. It's a way of saying, I'm not going to chase after you. I'm here, but I also have my own life, my own needs, my own boundaries. If you want to be a part of mine, you need to show me that you're willing to put in the effort. At the same time, leaning in at the right time, whether with an act of kindness, a gesture of care, or simply by offering your undivided attention, signals your willingness to connect, to nurture the bond. It's knowing when to share, when to listen, when to support, and when to give space. In the end, the balance of connection and distance isn't about playing games. It's about recognizing the dynamic nature of relationships and understanding that both proximity and space are essential to maintaining their health and longevity. It's about creating a flow, sometimes coming together, sometimes stepping back, and trusting that the right moments will guide you to where you need to be. When you master this balance, you make every moment count, and you create relationships that are strong, authentic, and built to last. Creating a sense of absence doesn't mean leaving without a trace or vanishing without care. It's about understanding the power of your presence and then choosing when and how to pull back in a way that makes people feel the weight of your absence. It's the art of being present in such a way that when you're no longer there, your absence leaves a lingering echo. Absence in its most powerful form doesn't just happen because you're physically missing. It's created through intention. When you're consistently there, always available, always present, people come to expect your presence without appreciating it. But when you allow for a little space, when you give yourself the freedom to step away, whether it's emotionally, physically, or mentally, you invite a natural longing. Think about the moments when you've walked into a room and without a word, your presence changes the energy. You might not have to do anything other than simply show up. But what happens when you leave that room? Is the energy still there? Are people left with something, some feeling, some thought, some impression that stays with them after you're gone? That's the magic of creating absence. When you're there constantly, people may take you for granted. But when you step back, when you let them feel the void, you make them realize just how much you matter. Your absence becomes a silent force that makes others think, makes them reflect, makes them feel the space you left behind. And when you return, it's not just about your physical presence. It's about the emotional and psychological weight you've created. You've shown them that you are not always going to be available, that you are not a constant fixture in their lives unless they make the effort to keep you there. There's a subtle power in knowing when to leave, when to let go, and when to allow people the chance to miss you. It's not about playing games or being distant just for the sake of it. It's about respecting your own time, your own energy, and your own space. And in doing so, creating an environment where people feel the difference when you're not there. Absence doesn't mean being cold or indifferent. It simply means giving people the opportunity to realize what they had, to value what you offer, to appreciate the role you play in their lives. The key is not to disappear entirely, but to create a rhythm where your presence feels intentional, where your absence isn't permanent, but impactful. You don't want to leave so often that people stop noticing when you're gone, but you don't want to overstay your welcome either. The absence needs to feel purposeful, like you've chosen to step away for a moment, so that when you return, people are glad to see you and they value the time they spend with you more than they might have if you were always there. Absence also gives people the time and space they need to reflect. Sometimes, when you're always present, people never get the chance to truly think about their relationship with you. But when you step back, they have the room to process, to evaluate, to miss the connection, and to appreciate it more deeply. The absence is a reminder of your value, a space that creates longing, that makes people consider their own feelings and whether they want to fill that void with something or someone else. When you create absence with purpose, you don't just leave a physical gap. You leave an emotional void, a psychological space where people are left thinking about you, reflecting on the moments you shared, wondering when they'll see you again. It's in the gaps, the pauses, the spaces in between that the real power lies. People don't always realize how much they value your presence until they feel the absence of it. And it's not about being unavailable all the time. It's about knowing when to step back just enough to let people feel the impact of your presence. When you do this, you shift the dynamic. You give people a chance to reflect on you, on your value, and on what you truly bring to their lives. It's a quiet power, one that doesn't demand attention, but instead makes people feel it when you're not around. So, creating a sense of absence isn't about being distant or withdrawing for the sake of it. It's about respecting your own space, your own value, and allowing others the opportunity to miss you, to understand just how much you contribute to their lives, not by being there all the time, but by knowing when your absence speaks louder than your presence ever could. Choosing grace and dignity is about making decisions based on your inner strength, not reacting to external circumstances or the behavior of others. It's about holding your head high, staying true to yourself, and carrying yourself in a way that reflects your self-respect, regardless of what's happening around you. It's easy to lose composure when life gets tough, when others challenge you, or when you feel unappreciated or misunderstood. But the true measure of your character is how you respond to those challenges, whether you act out of impulse or rise above with grace. Grace isn't about being perfect. It's about handling situations with a level of calmness, composure, and kindness, even when you're dealing with the most difficult people or circumstances. It's about responding with patience and understanding instead of reacting with anger or frustration. It's choosing to speak thoughtfully, to act with empathy, and to lead by example. When you move with grace, you leave a lasting impression that says more than any words could. People may forget what you said or did, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel, the way you treated them even when the situation was not ideal. Dignity, on the other hand, is about self-respect. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to allow anyone to treat you in a way that doesn't align with how you value yourself. Dignity means setting boundaries and standing firm in your beliefs without feeling the need to prove yourself to others. It means knowing when to speak up for yourself and when to walk away without losing your sense of integrity. When you choose dignity, you protect your peace and refuse to allow anyone or anything to compromise your sense of self. Even in moments of adversity, dignity ensures that you never compromise who you are for the sake of approval or acceptance. The beauty of grace and dignity is that they aren't just for the good times. They're even more powerful in moments of hardship. When things go wrong, when someone wrongs you, when you're faced with challenges, that's when your true strength shows. It's easy to lose your cool, to let frustration or resentment take over. But grace allows you to remain calm in the face of anger, to hold your ground without being swept away by negativity. Dignity keeps you from lowering your standards, from engaging in behavior that doesn't reflect your true nature, and instead helps you rise above, knowing that you don't need to engage in drama or conflict to prove your worth. Choosing grace and dignity also means knowing when to step back. Sometimes the best way to maintain both is to simply remove yourself from a situation that's no longer serving you. It's not about abandoning people or walking away from your responsibilities. It's about knowing when to let go with poise, when to move on without burning bridges, when to protect your peace by choosing not to engage in toxic dynamics. This ability to walk away without bitterness, without regret, and without carrying emotional baggage is one of the most powerful ways to maintain your dignity. When you choose grace and dignity, you also show others how they should treat you. People will learn that you will not tolerate disrespect or mistreatment, but you also won't stoop to their level. You will stand tall in your convictions without needing to prove a point. You'll communicate from a place of calm, confidence, and strength, and that alone will set the tone for how others treat you. This kind of energy attracts respect, trust, and a sense of admiration from others. They see that you won't engage in negativity, but instead will always take the high road, no matter the circumstances. Grace and dignity also come from a place of deep self-awareness. They come from a person who knows their own value, who who understands that how they respond to the world is a reflection of their inner strength, not a reaction to external circumstances. When you lead with grace, you choose to act from a place of compassion, not ego. And when you stand in dignity, you choose to protect your inner peace, your boundaries, and your self-worth. In a world that often encourages people to fight for attention, to demand respect, and to assert their power through force, choosing grace and dignity becomes an act of quiet rebellion. It's a statement that you don't need to fight in the traditional sense. You don't need to prove yourself by reacting to every little thing. You stand firm in who you are, and the world will see that strength and respond to it. In moments of hardship, when the temptation is to lash out, to retaliate, or to give up, choosing grace and dignity is the ultimate form of power. It's the choice to be the bigger person, to rise above, and to walk through life with an inner peace that no one can take from you. It's a conscious decision to be in control of how you respond, to live with purpose, and to carry yourself with respect, no matter the situation. In the end, choosing grace and dignity isn't just about how you present yourself to the world. It's about how you stay true to who you are, regardless of the challenges or setbacks you face. It's about knowing that your worth doesn't come from others' validation or approval, but from within. It's about showing up as the best version of yourself no matter the circumstances, and letting that quiet strength speak volumes. So remember, in every moment of your life, there will be opportunities to choose grace, to choose dignity, and to stand tall. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. When you do, you not only preserve your own peace, but set the standard for how you want the world to treat you, and that's the kind of impact that lasts. Stay true to yourself, keep walking with grace, and never forget the dignity that resides in you, because when you carry those things, you carry your power with you, and no one can take that away.